Hello once again YouTube, Chris the Nightbringer here, bringing you some StarMade new in Fleetworks, and today is another showcase video, and it will be on the Amarr. I figured, since the Machinimasound managed to get 2 showcase videos over the course of many months, I figured that the 4 main races of Eve should get 2 videos each, showcasing all of their ships, because they have the most ships out of all the races in Eve, and all the factions. So, we will be covering everything from drones to cruisers in this video, and in the next one we'll be covering battleships, battlecruisers, and industrials, and that will also be applied to the Galente and Caldari when we get to them as well. So today we are looking at the Amarr. Who are the Amarr, of course, is the question. We'll be doing a little bit of the lore, and then I'll talk a bit about the ships that are on screen afterwards. So the Amarr, what are they all about? The Amarr are a theocratic race in Eve. They are a major religious people in the Eve universe, and they are in fact the oldest race that you can play as well as the largest, I believe. They are the largest in terms of size and how much they control and the number of people in their nation, right? Their empire. It is technically an empire. They worship their god, of course, even though they're an advanced space-faring civilization. They are very much devoted to their god, as well as their emperor or empress, who is basically the physical embodiment of their god. I have no idea how that all works. I don't really study their religion or their culture, really. But that's what they're all about, really, and you can kind of get a grasp for why their ships look the way they do. It's very much reflected in their designs, which is pretty neat, and I quite like that about the Amarr. So, I mentioned in the last video, the Machinimasound showcase, that the Eve Gate is what allowed Earthlings to travel to the star cluster called New Eden, and eventually that gate collapsed, which resulted in these societies reverting to a primitive culture, and eventually having to make their way back into space and rediscovering how to fly in space. And the Amarr were the first to make it back into space. Now, additionally, they were the first to discover jump drive technology, and they were the first to rediscover the warp gates that were left behind. Now, I'm not sure if the current civilizations of Eve Online have the capabilities of creating new warp gates. I read somewhere that that technology is still not entirely discovered, not entirely fully looked at, right? And so their societies are incapable of creating warp gates, which is why we are not able to jump to new star systems in the Eve universe. That's why we're secluded to just the star systems we are at. I have no idea if that's the case, but it's entirely possible. So they were the first to discover jump drives, the first to get into space, the first to discover warp gates. And because of this, and the fact that they're religious fanatics, sort of, they decided to basically conquer everything in their path. They weren't exactly a warmongering race, but they were enslavers. They would discover other races that had been around, that didn't really make it into space yet, or just in general other sentient species, possibly. I have no idea how much other sentient species play a role in the Eve universe. I don't think there's many, or like any at all. But they definitely came across other humans on their planets, and they pretty much enslaved them as much as they could. And they're actually really proficient at slavery. They have really ridiculous slavery technology. It's kind of weird. It's like their main passion out of everything that they do. It's all about the slaves, which is very strange. And of course, the Machinimasound, as I described in the last video, are one of the races that the Amarr enslaved. During this period of conquest, they decided to go against the Jovians. Now, the Jovians we will cover in a later video, because they have their own spaceships that we will be taking a look at. The Jovians never reverted to a primitive culture. They stayed in space, and they actually survived throughout the cataclysmic event of the Eve collapse, the Eve Gate collapse, and they continued to advance as a society in technology and all that. So they never really got left behind in the dirt, and they've been advancing steadily over the course of these centuries, if not millennia, and when the Amarr try and take them on, the Jovians bitch slap them and put them in their place, which is quite hilarious. During this time, the Minmatar decide to revolt, and that is when they had their opportunity to free about a third of their society from the Amarrians. And yeah, that's pretty much where we all stand now. The Amarr have kind of learned not to just straight up go to war and try and take on the other empires. Certainly the Jovians, who have since then kind of dismissed themselves from the public scene and kind of became recluse little hermits in their own sector of space. We have not seen them since, and it's probably because they think we're immature little shits and that we're not worth their time, to be completely honest. So yeah, that's what the Amarr are all about. And yeah, this is their ships, this is what they look like. They've obviously got this white hull with some golden accents. The best I can do in StarMade is brown, which works quite nicely, I must say. So I like the way it comes out, I like the way it turns out. Real quick, we'll just fly back over here, and I guess I'll start talking about the ships because I finished my little lore bit a little bit early. We'll be covering more lore in the next video as to where the Amarr currently are at, because some major events have been happening in Eve in recent times that have had a lot of stuff to do with the Amarr and the Empress and all that. So we'll be talking about that in the next episode. But for now, let's talk about the ships. Of course, here are some of the drones. These are drones that I completed a long time ago, and you can kind of tell because of the lack of heptas and tetras and all that. And this sentry drone is probably like twice as big as it should be, I think. I don't know. It's not supposed to be that big, I know that for sure. So yeah, these are the 3 drones that they have. I'm definitely looking forward to updating all of these drones and submitting them as a sort of pack for you guys to use, although finding a place for the new docking modules may be difficult on some of them. Although I guess not entirely difficult, I guess I could put one there. But yeah, they're not as powerful as I would like them to be, but they're also to scale, so accuracy is being kept in mind. And of course I will swap out their weapons with laser technology instead of the cannons, which would be pretty nice. And here we have the Amarr Templar, recently updated and submitted to the forums, so definitely check out my community content for some of the ships that have been updated, which I'll be discussing here in a moment. The Fighter Bomber has not been updated, so we'll be taking a look at that in the future when I update all the Fighter Bombers together. We have the Amarr Emperor, which has been updated recently, along with a ton of other ships, so I'm going to be telling you about all of these updated ships. And you can just go to my community content, maybe I'll link it down below in the description, and you guys can check out my assortment of various ships that you can download. This is their rookie ship, which is pretty much the smallest usable ship for the Amarr race, which is pretty nice. Of course, every ship has these curvy, almost crescent-shaped hooks on their in the designs of their ships. We have the Amarr Executioner, recently updated, but additionally we have the Amarr Crusader. Now I'm going to go over this in its own video, but this is a Tech 2 version of the ship. As you can see, it's got some additional little bits on it, and yeah, I'll definitely cover that in its own video. I might do that with the other Tech 2 variant of the Executioner, because they're both interceptors, and I don't really think I need to split it up into 2 videos, but I'll see. So the Amarr focus heavily on armor, which is why I have advanced armor on these ships. I really don't mind using the other armor types. I know a lot of people use advanced armor solely on their ships, but I think it's quite nice to add some variety to the texture of the hull, to the look of a hull, by using different armor types. So that's definitely something to think of when you're making these ships. We have the Tormentor on the right and the Punisher on the left. Punisher recently finished. It's like the it's the latest Amarr ship that I've created. And we have the Khador edition as well, so I suppose if you want, you can comment down below and you can get a chance to win the Khador edition of that Punisher. Here, I think we have the largest frigate for the Amarr, which is the Crucifier. Personally, I cannot wait to get working on this because it's a really neat design, and because it's all on a 45-degree angle, it'll still work, which is nice. I have no idea if this is how big it's supposed to be. It's quite large. It's like significantly larger than the other frigates. The only one that compares is the Tormentor. So I'm going to double check and make sure that I got the scale on that right, because that seems a little large. But if that is correct and that is the actual size, then I'll be satisfied, because the larger means the more detail I can fit in. Here is the Imperial Navy Slicer, which is a Navy faction frigate. It's basically an Amarr Executioner with its wingy side bits tilted and some additional details added on. Behind it, we have the Purifier. Now, this is their stealth bomber, a ship that I really have not covered at all yet in any videos, including the Minmatar. I was supposed to get the Minmatar Hound in the Minmatar showcase, but I did not. So, sometime in the future, I'll probably just be doing a video on the bombers when I make some progress on them. You can see the underneath there, that's where the bomb actually goes, the bomb launcher. Pretty exciting. Can't wait to do that, because it'll just be a big-ass missile ship or something. We have the Inquisitor here, the last frigate for the Amarr. Very strange, sort of organic-looking shape. To be honest, I'm not really a fan of it, but we'll see how it turns out when it's done. And now we're getting into the destroyers. So right here we have the Courser. I did start a Courser in a live stream, but I decided to re-import it with the new process for a cleaner model, and it's certainly looking cleaner, so I'm quite satisfied with how that's going to turn out, or how that did turn out, and how I'm excited to actually get working on another destroyer. Here is, of course, the Dragoon, the largest Amarr ship that I have released, and possibly the largest ship I have released in general. I think this might be the biggest in terms of size and mass. This will be getting a major update in the future. I have no idea when, but there are tons of things that need to change. Things like the old docking system. The entirety of the internals is going to be redone so that it's a little bit nicer, cleaner, and more accurate, and makes more sense. Because right now it doesn't really make sense. It's a little bit of a mess. So, major updates coming for the Dragoon. Now here is the Confessor, and this is going to be one hell of a project when I get to it, because there are so many moving bits on it. We have extendable armor plates, we have doors that open up, we have antennas that extend, we have these massive arm things that move around, we have engines that move around, we have panels that open up. It's just quite a ridiculous ship, and it'll be fun when I get to it, because it'll be a lot of rail experimentation and stuff, and I might learn a thing or two, or I might need someone's help, who knows. If you're wondering, I have those 2 extra bits over there on the side in order to give me a clean, straight copy of these sections here that I will then dock to this when I get to the whole rails part of this. It's going to be one hell of a build. This is their tactical destroyer, I forgot to mention. This is their most advanced destroyer, and it is capable of shifting between 3 different modes to enable it, you know, greater speed or greater accuracy with its weapons, or I forgot what the last one was. Oh, greater defenses. It'll increase its armor and shields and stuff like that. Next up, we have one hell of an Amarr ship. This is the Legion. Now, I know a lot of people would be interested in this, because this is a beautiful ship. I never really noticed it until I imported it, and let me tell you, this will be one hell of a ship. This is their strategic cruiser. So their strategic cruisers in EVE are ships that are made out of multiple components, so you kind of have to piece them together, and you get to decide which components are on your ship. So you can see that this is split up into 5 different sections, each of them being their own ship, and when I get around to it, you'll be able to copy and paste them all together, or maybe I'll just release a general copy of this that's all put together by myself and put it on the forums. There are, I believe, 1,024 possible combinations for how you can put this ship together. So I don't think I'll be doing all of them. That would be a little ridiculous. However, I do think that it would be worth it to upload a few different variations that excel in certain aspects of gameplay, and I think that'd be pretty exciting. I cannot wait to work on this thing, because it is one aggressive looking ship. It's possibly one of the most aggressive Amarrian ships that I'll be showcasing. I forgot to mention this a little bit earlier, but the Amarr are known for using energy weapons, and that's probably due to the fact that they're the oldest race and they have had time to research this, but they extensively use lasers and beam weaponry. As that's pretty much it. They're pretty much the only race that really focuses on it, which is interesting. So they have massive capacitor banks inside their ships, which allows them to fuel those energy weapons. These are the 3 cruisers of the Amarr. We have the Omen, the Arbitrator, and the Agor ships that I really have not showcased at all yet. They're looking pretty good. I can't tell if this is a drone bay. It might be. I can't remember. There are some of these ships that don't actually have drone bays, but have like an opening where a drone bay could be. So yeah, these are their cruisers. You can get a feel for their size. And yeah, so that's pretty much the Amarrian ship line in terms of drones to cruisers. In the next video, we'll be taking a look at their battleships, their battle cruisers, and their industrial ships. All of that I have not showcased on my channel at all before, and I know for a fact that people will be wanting to take a look at the battleships of the Amarr because it features one of the most famous battleships in Eve, the Apocalypse. So that'll be something to look forward to. And that'll probably be next, actually. So thank you for joining. Subscribe if you want to see more. Leave your feedback down below. Comment for a chance to win the Khador edition of the Punisher, and I will see you all next time.